On what should have been the happiest day of their lives, a grand wedding feast turned into a night of horror. The bride lay unconscious, the groom gasped for breath, and the guests collapsed one by one, clutching their stomachs in agony. Plates overturned, goblets spilled wine that mixed with vomit and blood on the polished wooden floor. As panic spread, one horrifying truth became clear. Someone had poisoned the entire family. But who? And why on a day meant for love and celebration? The answer would shock the entire town. Because the culprit was not a rival family, not a spurned lover, but someone from deep inside the household, a humble, silent cook slave who had lived under their roof for years. Her name was Clara, a young woman in her early 20s known to everyone simply as the kitchen girl. To the outside world, she was invisible, just another slave, her head bowed, hands stained from years of chopping, cleaning and serving. But behind her quiet demeanor lay a storm of rage and heartbreak. Clara had been torn from her family as a child, sold at an auction block like cattle. The master of this grand house, William Harrow, was known for his wealth, his extravagant parties, and his cruelty. He bought Clara when she was only 12 and forced her into endless labor. Beatings were common. Her little brother, who was brought to the same plantation, didn't survive the harsh winters. When he died, Clara wasn't allowed to grieve. She was forced back to the kitchen that very night to cook dinner for the people who had caused his death. Over the years, Clara learned every corner of that house, every secret passage, every taste and preference of the family. They trusted her completely. After all, she was just the quiet girl in the shadows. What they didn't realize was that she was watching, listening, and planning. The final straw came one bitter night. Clara overheard William Harrow talking to his guests, laughing about how he planned to marry his daughter off to a wealthy neighbor to expand his land and influence. This marriage, the wedding that would later become infamous, was to cement the Harrow family's power for generations. As Clara listened, something inside her snapped. She remembered her brother's lifeless face. She remembered the years of humiliation, the hunger, the pain, the nights she cried silently while the family slept in feather beds. From that moment, her grief transformed into cold, deliberate revenge. Clara began to experiment in secret, using herbs, roots, and deadly nightshade plants she collected while fetching water. She knew exactly how to make a poison that was tasteless and slow-acting, lethal enough to kill, but delayed just long enough for the entire family to eat their fill before symptoms appeared. The grand day finally arrived. The estate was alive with music, guests in their finest clothes, and tables groaning under the weight of roasted meats, sweet pies, and glittering wine. Clara worked tirelessly in the kitchen, her face calm and obedient. No one noticed the small vial she carried tucked in her apron, nor the faint bitter smell when she stirred the sauces. As she served the feast, her hands didn't shake. The bride smiled, the groom kissed her hand, the guests toasted to the future. Clara forced herself to smile back, knowing what was about to happen. Hours later, as the dancing began, the poison took hold. One by one, the guests collapsed, gasping and writhing on the floor. Screams filled the air. Wine goblets shattered. Children cried in terror. Clara stood at the edge of the chaos, her heart pounding. Not with guilt, but with grim satisfaction. For the first time, she felt powerful. The local doctor was called, but it was too late for most of the victims. William Harrow himself died clutching his chest, his mouth twisted in agony. The town was thrown into shock. Who would commit such a monstrous act? At first, suspicion fell on rival families or bandits. But as investigators combed the scene, they noticed something strange. Only those who had eaten the main course were affected. The servants, who had been given leftovers later, were unharmed. This pointed to someone inside the household. And there was one person who had touched every dish that night, Clara. But Clara was careful. She kept her expression blank, her answers polite. When questioned, she claimed ignorance, saying she only followed the master's recipes. For a time, it seemed she might escape justice. Then, just as the investigation began to stall, Clara made a single mistake. While cleaning the kitchen, she accidentally dropped a small pouch hidden beneath the floorboards. Inside were crushed herbs, powders, and a tiny glass vial. The contents matched perfectly with the poison found in the victims' stomachs. The discovery sealed her fate. Clara was arrested, her wrists bound in iron shackles. Even as she was dragged before the authorities, she remained eerily calm. When asked why she did it, she finally spoke words that sent chills through everyone present. "For years, I served them their meals while they starved my soul. That night, I simply returned the favor." News of the trial spread across the region like wildfire. Some saw Clara as a monster, a woman who had destroyed an entire family out of hatred. Others, particularly among the enslaved, whispered her name like a dark legend, a symbol of rebellion against the cruelty they all endured. During the trial, the evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses described seeing her near the food with mysterious powders. The surviving guests recounted her strange calmness amidst the chaos. The judge, a friend of William Harrow, wasted no time in declaring her guilty. Her sentence was death. On the morning of her execution, the sky was gray and heavy with rain. Clara walked to the gallows without tears or screams. As the noose was placed around her neck, she looked at the crowd and spoke her final words. "You call me a murderer, but I was made into one by the very hands that now condemn me." The lever was pulled. Silence fell. Clara's body swayed in the rain, but her story did not die with her. For years, people whispered about the cook-slave who poisoned an entire family, some calling her a villain, others a tragic heroine. Even today, her tale serves as a chilling reminder of how oppression can turn a quiet servant into a force of vengeance, and how, sometimes revenge is served not cold but poisoned. And so the wedding feast that was meant to unite two families became their tomb. But one question still lingers in the minds of historians and storytellers alike. Did Clara act alone? Or was someone else, still hidden in the shadows, pulling the strings?